Hello, fellow nurse entrepreneurs. One of the things that I've always wanted to do was always wanted to help nurses work from anywhere, pretty much have the flexibility, pretty much have their freedom so that they could do whatever they wanted to do.
Joining VP Nursing was one of the best decisions that I could have ever made. If I was to have a regret, it would be that I didn't join sooner.
If they wanted to be with their children, if they wanted to be with their families, they can do exactly what they wanted to do.
Ola is the type of person, she's not going to let you stay the same. The way she levels up her clients in every area of their lives.
I could not have imagined being a nurse with my own business, being in this space with so many amazing people, with a coach that 1,000,000% cares about what my outcome is going to be.
And so here at VP Nursing, we teach nurses how to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money, owning their own time, building profitable nurse coaching, consulting, and service-based businesses. And so now we're at the beach and we're working at the beach and we're having a great time. We're doing a brand photo shoot. It's an amazing time. So if you want to learn how to work from anywhere around the world, creating that flexibility, creating that freedom for yourself, but monetizing the knowledge that you already have, join us at VP Nursing Business Academy. Hey everyone, so good morning. We have the amazing Dr. India Caldwell-Cox. Okay, so now, Doctor, before we do this, so I ask that you like, share, comment on this video. We want to know what you like about the video. We want to know if the story resonates with you. It's going to be an amazing story. I love her story. So I can't wait for y'all to hear what I know about Dr. Cox, because she is the bomb.com. So Dr. Cox, tell us who you are in your own words.
Well, good morning, and thank you for that illustrious welcome. I'm Dr. India Caldwell-Cox. I'm a nurse executive entrepreneur and psychiatric systems consultant. So I've led large-scale healthcare operations. I've opened up behavioral health facilities from the ground up. I've built businesses that empower professionals to rise, especially in the world of aesthetics, mental health, and compliance. So also, I'm mentoring nurses. Actually, I got a young man who is not a nurse, but he asked me to mentor him. Consulting, I work with C-suite leaders, advocating for systems change. I'm all about results, right? Integrity and legacy. And so I'm welcome to a space where clinical excellence meets entrepreneurial fire. So that's who I am.
I love it. Now, most of the time, what I do is I go through the reasons why you became a nurse and all of that. But you have such a rich story that I want to go ahead and jump on into the story. So this happened very early on in your career. Like you weren't even a nurse at this time, but you were a child, and something happened as a child that kind of, rocked your world a little bit. So tell me what that was.
So my dad and I went to a pharmacy in our city, and, just a local pharmacy. And my sister had an outpatient procedure. We went to go get her medication. And, as a kid, you're like, oh, I want to try to give me some candy. Normally my dad would say no, but I was like, maybe this time he'll say yes. So he went in the door first, and I kind of stood at the door, kind of hesitant between either I go back to the car, like he told me to stay, or I go in. So my dad was a union president. So, it was all walks of life that have been around. Man grabbed him from the back, put a gun to his head. So I saw the gun, and he grabbed him, and he was like, what you doing? Because he thought maybe it was one of his union members playing with him, roughhousing or whatever. And he said, get yourself back there. And then he turned and he saw me because I was kind of frozen at the door. And he said, and tell your little B to get in here too. So I went in there, and me and my dad went, and we did exactly as we were told. And so neighborhood pharmacies have the checkout level, and then the pharmacist is in the back kind of on a higher level. And then we had a lotto window where people could go play the lottery. So when we got pushed back behind the counter, there were people on the floor already. So they had already been in the process of robbing. So one of the robbers was getting the money from the lottery window. The other one had the gun on us. And then the other one was getting drugs from the pharmacist. He was telling them what drugs he wanted and everything. And so I remember, and the other thing I remember we were sitting on like the step to go to the level where the pharmacist was. My dad had money in his pocket. And so he pulled out his money and he slid it behind a box, and he only took out 20. And so it's amazing how you think about what's going on. And I didn't know that me paying that close of attention would later on be used and necessary in my life. So as the day progressed, we were there a few hours. They put us in this room and we could see a big storefront, and it was like right adjacent to it. Well, we could hear them arguing, and they were arguing as to who was going to shoot us. And they was like, no, I don't want a murder rap. Well, I'm not doing it. And so it was kind of like the Three Stooges, just bungling, and they were just arguing. And so we could see the officer pull up. So the first officer was Officer Burlong from the Dayton Police. And I don't know if that man is still alive, but I remember, I will never forget him because he arrived first on the scene that we saw. Then we heard pop, pop, pop. And then all of a sudden the door opened up, and it really was like a movie. He said, is everybody okay? Come on out. So we came on out, and we seen that I could see that they had two of the people in handcuffs, and then one had ran down. It was like a little side alley, and a Church's Chicken was there. So he had ran out of his shoes trying to get away. Well, they eventually caught everybody. And then, I remember being interviewed, and the stupid question, were you scared? And I was like, of course I was scared. And then I remember I said, well, I'm never coming back in here. Never. I said, I'll be going to Revco, which is now CVS, to get all my scripts filled. And my dad was like, oh, you're going to get us a commercial. But that didn't happen. So I go to school the next day. Some kids said, oh, we saw you on Channel 7. Did you really get in that? And so for me as a kid, I said, yeah. And I just went about my life. So I know now, everybody's like, oh, that's trauma. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that. Well, I guess maybe the way that I was brought up, we lived in low income housing in the project. So I've seen people fight in the street and get their throat slashed in front of their children. But that robbery was very significant because now we fast forward, and I'm a corrections officer as an adult standing in the hallway. It was mass movement, and you're supposed to stay between the yellow lines. Well, this inmate crosses the yellow line, and I said, excuse you, where are you going? And he said, India. Well, our last names were the only thing on our badges, and we didn't even have our first initial, just your last name. And I was like, excuse me? I said, do I know you? He was like, yeah, Gettysburg Pharmacy. I never told anybody that story growing up. That wasn't a high school story. It wasn't anything. And I said, is that what you're here for? He was like, no, I've been out since then. I'm here for something else. And I was like, oh. And so I still wasn't scared. I don't know, but that's the desensitization I guess you get. Mm-hmm. So that, I guess that prepared me for what I'm doing now. And so I worked it was a male maximum security prison. It had 2,200 inmates. I started as a corrections officer in my early 20s. I was not a nurse in there. I was a corrections officer. So yeah.
I think that one of the things that we as female and as African American women, whether you're an African American woman or whether you're a woman in general, I think that sometimes we do have those things that we go through, and we don't think that they're trauma, but they truly are trauma. And we go through them in a very unique way. And so I'm just really, really glad that you were not scared once you saw him again. But, I would have been a little bit freaked out when he was like India. And I'm just like, listen, how you know her name?
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was just like, what?
Crazy.
And I told my dad, and he was like, what? So I didn't have to testify. I was a child. So, but of course, as I got older, you got witness statements. They find out victim statements. So, the inmate, the perpetrator who committed a crime, they know all of your business. They get all of that, even though they may have done the crime and you're the victim. they get all that information.
Wow.
Don't let it fool you. Yeah, they get all that. They know your name, and they all of that is public record. They can get a copy of the court hearings and everything. But I wasn't involved in that. So then we fast forward, and my next major event besides that is I lost my second oldest sister when she was 39, and so I had always worked in mental health. I was a CNA at the time, going to school because I wanted to be a neurologist, a neurosurgeon. And she had lupus. She was a recovering addict. She had gotten her life back on track. And back then in the early 2000s, late 90s, they didn't really know how to diagnose, or it took a very long time to diagnose lupus. And she had systemic lupus. Plus the fact that she had been a substance abuser, didn't help. So she was 38 and a half, and I was the last one to see her. And I remember they called. I had my niece. I was in school. I picked them up, took them to. I was doing a bowling class as an elective, something easy. And I went to take them back, and she was gone. So I thought she went to work. I didn't know that she had to call 911 and go to the hospital. She had meningitis. And so that was my first exposure to meningitis. Remember, now I'm a CNA, unit secretary. I'm not a nurse yet, so I'm not quite aware of those things. Well, when I got to her in the ER, I went to the counter, and two residents were looking at the chart, and it was like, another drug addict, right? I said, excuse me, my sister needs some help. I didn't know she was actively dying. Her lips were turning white, her color was turning gray, her eyes was rolling in her head, and her body was releasing her bodily fluids at the time. And I could literally see her swelling before me.
Wow.
And, now that to me was more traumatic than the robbery or seeing that inmate, because this is my sister. And I remember I was trying to take her jewelry off because she loved her jewelry. And I was like, I got your jewelry. But I couldn't get one of the rings off because her fingers had swollen so fast. Her body was just swelling. And she was like, okay. And she was rolling her eyes in her head. And I said, can somebody please help her? And they said, we'll help her. Well, I had her daughter, my ex-husband's nephew, my kids, and they were all in the lobby. It was a snowstorm coming in February. And so I said, I'll be back. Well, she'd been in and out of the hospital all the time with lupus. So I just kind of felt like it was just going to be, they'll get her upstairs. We'll see her. She'll be in there a week, and then she'll be back out like it had been before. Well, a few hours later, I get a call that, quote, your sister's taking a turn for the worse. We need you to come back. And it was literally 5 minutes from my house. And something just hit me. And all I could do was just scream my husband's name at the time. And I had twisted my ankle, so I was limping. And he took me back up there. And this is our neighborhood hospital, instead of going to the right, they took me to the left. And I collapsed in the floor. And he was like, what's wrong? I said, she's dead. She's gone. And he was like, no, you don't know. I said, yeah, they wouldn't take me this way. And I didn't know what that way was. I just knew it wasn't the way that we should go. And when I walked in the room and I saw those two residents, literally, I almost physically attacked them. I did verbally. And I said, you don't know. I said, she was a mother. She had a sister. She had people that loved her. And you were looking at her chart and you were just saying these things. That was a foundation for me that I didn't know that I would need now.
That you were starting. Is that the reason why you became a nurse?
No. Actually, I became a nurse because I wanted to be in medical school, but I was thinking, and my ex-husband at the time said, why don't you become a nurse? He put it in my mind. So then I applied and I got accepted to school in Arizona. And then that's where it all started for me.
Gotcha. Now you fast forward to your you were a nurse leader during COVID. Oof. And something happened in a meeting. Because COVID, I want everybody to understand that COVID was a time, and I don't know because I was not a nurse leader in those critical areas. I was a nurse leader, but I was not in those like ER, ICU areas. So there were decisions that were made. This is the reason why the suicide rate was so high during that time, was because there were some critical things that, upper management told, the people who were actually on the ground, boots on the ground people, that they had to do, okay, because of the mass critical incidents. And so whenever you're in a mass casualty, I want everybody to understand this. So normally, like if you come into the emergency department, if you don't have a pulse, you don't have, you're not breathing, you're like number one, right? You're the person that comes in number one. But when you're in a mass casualty situation, or like then it's tag them this, and as horrible as it seems, it is what it is. Okay. What happens is the people who are dead and dying, the ones who are close to dying, you don't get the care. If they think that you're going to live, then you get the care. Now, I was highly surprised by that when I heard it, because I didn't know that that's what happens in mass casualties, right? And it was, well into my career before I heard that. But people who are dead and dying that may not have a pulse or have a thready pulse, or who are dying, they get, you tag them black, and they don't get the care that they need because of the fact that you don't think that they're going to live. And as much as I hate that, we have to know that that's what happens sometimes. And COVID was one of those instances. And so you were in a meeting and you were told something. And
Yes. So I was the VP of behavioral health, and which gave me a huge amount of responsibility. I had to chair committees, a lot of things, and be on county projects in the county. So it was a large undertaking, and we were on a call, one of many that were mandated to be on, and my boss said, just shut up, just stop talking. And we're all on Zoom like this.
Let me tell you something.
And I said,
let me speak loud into this.
Yeah.
Child. Let me tell you.
I was so taken aback. And then she had the nerve to text me and say, and it's my meeting. I'm running the meeting. I was getting the outcomes that were asked of me. I had built a team that we were rocking it out, because she had said, psych patients don't get COVID. You don't need this. You don't need that. And I was like, well, are they Martians? Are they from another planet? Very, very, very disheartening. And through all that, I also was suffering on a personal note, because shortly after I got there, I came home one day and my husband of almost 30 years had left. And so that was another story. And I still had to go to work in this new town as this new leader with this, I don't know how else to call it, but Lucifer's daughter. She was horrible. She's a very, very mean spirited person. And I live by my morals and my ethics, and I live by the do no harm. I really do. And I believe that even if we don't love them, that somebody loves and cares about that patient. It may not be us, but there's somebody in the world that does love them. That's right. And it was quite, and everybody's face on the screen was, I mean, you could hear a rat fart on cotton. It was so quiet. And I just said,
rat fart.
And so
I've never heard that.
She tore me down. I allowed her to tear me down mentally, emotionally, and I lost a lot of confidence. But I also had this major thing going on at home that compounded, that was even worse, because who would I tell? Who was I supposed to talk to? And we're in a pandemic. I don't know what's going on. And then I bring my mom from my home in Arizona to be with me where I was, so that I could keep an eye on her. And she was declining in age. And so it was just all of these things at the same time. And when it finally was over, I did wait a couple years, and then my husband and I were not together anymore. And then my mom, I asked my sister and brother to take my mom because I felt like I was falling apart and I didn't know what to do. And when you're strong and and you're the one that everybody else depends on, when it's time for you, you don't even you even if you do say I need some help, they go, well, what's wrong with you? What's going on?
So during this time, like after because you lost your career as well, you
Mm-hmm.
lost your husband at the same time, kind of around the same time. How did you build from those emotional blows?
I befriended an awesome young lady there, and I don't think she knows the impact that she had on me. Actually, I hired her to be one of my managers, and she was tremendous and introduced me to some of her friends in her circle of influence. And one of the young ladies I met got me into aesthetics. And she said, you would be a great nurse injector. And I was like, what is that? And so I looked into it, and lo and behold, right across the parking lot was the school to get certified to do this. I drove by it every day.
Mm.
So I took the leap of faith. I did that whole program in a weekend. So I did the accelerated course, got certified, and then she introduced me to one of her friends that owned a med spa, and she was willing to mentor me because they just leave you to your own devices. You don't know. And she is still my friend to this day. I can still call her to this day. And so I got into med spa. So that's what got me motivated again, because I was really not happy as a nurse anymore in that realm. But I started and I opened up a med spa. Didn't have any business acumen at all. Made a lot of mistakes, but there's been a couple of other individuals I got introduced to that world. There was the number one spa queen in this arena that's African American like us, and I got to meet her, got to work under her. She's tough, but I mean, my first week I made $10,000 the first week, and I hadn't even totally unpacked. But and that was the marketing piece. So the business piece from the nurse, because it's different. If you're not a nurse and you're in this aesthetics world, maybe as an esthetician or a massage therapist, they have a different set of training that they have, where we know we have this license that we have to work under a different kind of scope.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting them to understand it, well, just do it. You can just do. No. I got a whole, as you say, a whole situation over here that people said. So I have to do things in order. So, but I did that. And then I didn't plan for the slow spots. I didn't know that when the clients didn't start coming, or the cancellations, or how to go out and rebuild. And so yet again, I went back into the depression.
So there's so many gems in what you said. So number one, I always say this, that what you go through is never for you. What you go through is for the people that you will survive and that you will talk to about this once you've gone through that. So it was never for you. And I think that when you go through things like that, then it keeps the momentum up for you to move forward. But you not only said that, you also said that you befriended a person. And I was just actually on the call with one of my clients, and one of the things that I said is your circle is incredibly important. My pastor actually talked about that on Sunday, right? And your circle is incredibly important. You need to have a good circle. If people in your circle, if you hang, I got a friend, she's so funny. She said, if you hang out with 9 broke folks, you're gonna meet the 10th one. Okay, all right, stop. Nobody doing that.
Right.
And then the other thing that you talked about is the fact that you knew how to be, and this is because I remember, which I'm kind of glad that I couldn't do that, because I probably would have been in that world as well. But it was like a $10 detox type of powder. And I remember going to the meetings, and I remember asking about, like, what education are we going to get around that? Because as nurses, we have to think about, well, what are the consequences? What may happen to these people, right? We can't just willy-nilly go into any business, right? And what you said was true. Like, you Like we've got to consider that when we, and I remember the guy rolling his eyes, okay, because he didn't realize,
Right.
as a matter of fact, I actually went to high school with him, right? But he didn't realize that I'm a nurse. He didn't realize who I was. But it's neither here nor there. As soon as he rolled his eyes, I was like, this is what I'm not about to do right here. And
Right.
so then the other thing that you said was business acumen and understanding that business is up and down. You're going to have some months when you're up, you're going to have some months when you're down. And you just have to plan for those months when you're down. And sometimes what happens is we get up and we're like, okay, all right, we're making money. And then we go out and we spend money. And then we're like, oh, this month is not like that month.
Right.
But having business acumen, along with the actual ability to do is key in anything that you do. So I'm just really, really glad that you brought that up. And the marketing piece, right? You said it was about marketing, right? And understanding that, it's incredibly important.
Now, and I didn't think I was a salesperson, but I'm a salesperson every day. I'm trying to give a patient medication. I want you to get up out the bed and do your laps. I need you to take this incentive spirometer and breathe 10 times while this commercial is on. So I didn't think of it like that, because my thing was, oh, well, okay, well, if you don't want it, it's for you, not for me. But so I said, oh, wait, you want me to do what? And then, so like, even this is a big piece for me. I'm the person behind the scenes. I will get it done. I have a lot of ideas in my head, and there are things that I want to, but I always have to try them first. I have to beta test everything. I have to do the research. I have to have some evidence base. I have to, because if it's affecting a human, I take that very seriously.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, you went traveling as a leader after you left a secure job at the VA, and you went traveling as a leader. What was your motivation behind that? And I want to, so go ahead, because I want to talk about what you're doing now, the consultant, but go ahead. Okay. That's really what I want to talk about.
So I have been at the VA for a number of years, and it was upward bullying. So I promoted like fast.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to be a leader. I never wanted to be a CNO. I never thought about any of that. So my manager at the time, who is my really good friend, we did our doctorate together. She was one of the most stable and best leaders as a manager that I had worked with. I mean, she stayed calm. She, and it helped that she was a pastor's wife also, but she stayed calm. She was consistent. So I got to see consistency. I got to see integrity. I got to see all of those things up close with her. And she would check me. India, stop rolling your eyes. India, stop doing this. And I mean, it was love. And I appreciate her doing that, because yes, I was that face, yes, I was doing that totally just inappropriate. And so she really helped mold me. So I'm grateful for the people that I've had to help me through these processes. So I got promoted. I got asked to go to tele. I was over the tele unit. Then I got asked to go back to mental health. And then I was asked to create this. It was a lot of suicides going on at the time. So I was asked to create a program of individuals who would be assigned to do observation and care as not just a one-to-one, but with these individuals. So that's where I started learning about how to create jobs, how to create salaries, FTEs, and all those kind of things. Well, when I got asked to go back, one of the young ladies who I actually interviewed and hired with this manager, we trained her up, brought her up. I've been through her with her marriage, divorce, cheating, babies, everything. She really was not happy. She wanted the job. And I was like, well, we can do it together. Well, this is how manipulation gets you. I was the only one that looked like me over there, but they accused me of being racist, and constant EEO complaints were put in on me. Constant. And even my boss, and I was like, you've known me for 11 years. What are you talking about? That's not even my character. And it was as if the HR department was agreeing with them, because they didn't want to hold any of them accountable, even to the point where the LPN, when we had a sit down, They said, well, how would you like for her to, talking about I wasn't nice to them or whatever. They said, well, how would you like for her to, what do you think is nice? Quote, India should be meeting me at the elevator when I get off with a plate of warm cookies.
Oh, no.
I said, that's appropriate for my subordinate to say. And they just looked at me and they was like, you can't speak. Oh my gosh. I was so hurt and devastated. Right.
Wow.
And so this recruiter had been, and I didn't know what a headhunter was. This man kept leaving these messages for me. And I was like, who is this guy? And so one day I answered the phone and it was a recruiter and he was looking for a director of nursing for a hospital in California. I said, why would I go anywhere? So ended up, let's fast forward, interview, got it, went to California. Best move ever. I met a whole new world of people who were traveling leaders. And I said, what's a travel leader? I said, I thought you stayed in one spot when you led a hospital. No, but I learned so many things. I learned about the inner workings of Joint Commission, operations, finance, how to get through surveys. I mean, I was just immersed in so many things, and it was the best move ever. And so that's what got me, and that's what brought my attention. I heard of travel nursing, but never a nurse leader. And so that's how my journey started with this. And then I branched out on my own because that hospital ended up getting sold and filed bankruptcy. So I went to El Paso first, and I was there during the border crisis. So when all the mass entrances were coming across the border, they didn't speak English. We didn't know their medical history. I had to do all that. Then the shooting. So I was part of El Paso Strong. We had to build up that community. So I got some real life hands-on things. And this is before COVID, when those things happened. And then just when that was done, because they were I had some very racial tensions there. And it was to the point where my CEO was laughing at a picture that they had posted referring to me in negative racial slurs. And she thought it was funny. And I was like, I don't want to work for anybody like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But now you do you are consulting. And one of the things that I always say is that whenever you are at different organizations, you can see where the gaps are in those organizations. So you have seen where the gaps are in several psychiatric organizations. And so what do you do now?
So what I do is I come in and they ask me for an evaluation. Pretty much they already know what's broken, but I don't think they have the fortitude or they're not really brave enough to initiate these things because they've allowed personal to intertwine. So bringing in someone with fresh eyes who's outside, who doesn't have an established relationship, I think that helps a little bit. And so when I come in, I meet the team. I respectfully let them know I'm not here to take your job. I'm not here to disrupt your life. I just want to make things better for you and to help you get through the challenges that you've been through. That's not always well received. Not at all. But because who's she coming in to tell me what I need to do? Well, I'm not coming in to tell you what to do, but sometimes there are some things, because when you've been doing one spot for 100 years, you're not aware of anything else. And you don't understand that if you're still doing the same things and they're broken and you're not getting a better or a different result, that's what? Insanity. So it's time that we have to step out, and everyone's afraid of change. So they bring me in. I come in and I help initiate the change. I start with, and then I find diamonds in the rough. I find there are lots of individuals within organizations that are oftentimes overlooked, and they end up being great
leaders.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I get to take them under my wing, and I get to talk to them, and they feel empowered. And sometimes the conversations, it's all about money. Those are your most underpaid people who will do the most for you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we're at the end of the podcast, but I have some rapid fire questions for you. Okay. So tell me, what has been your most rewarding thing about nursing?
Seeing how I can affect individuals, not only in their careers, but in their life. So a lot of times they come into a toxic work environment. They feel like that they're at the end of their rope. And I can have a little bit of motivation with them. I can empower them. I can encourage them. I hear them. I listen to them, and I can see them bud and bloom, and they thrive and they flourish. Or I may have someone who is a CNA, and like I have now one young lady, she's got her whole MP, and every time she's done a milestone in her life, and I've been knowing her since 2008. We may not see or talk, but she calls me or she texts me and tells me these things. So seeing that is good for me. And when I see a patient who came in really sick and they leave better, that's what's great for me.
I love it. What do you think is the most common misconception about nursing?
That we make a lot of money.
Child.
And that when people meet you and find out that you're a nurse, that you about to give them all this free medical advice and start taking care of them. So I'm single trying to date, which is not being rude. But anyway, when they hear that, I usually say, "Oh, I'm in healthcare," and if they find I'm a nurse, oh Lord, they got an ailment or a medication. No.
Yeah, I'd be like, listen, I don't know. Listen. Anyway, what are you reading now?
I read multiple books, but right now, it's oh my gosh, something about the next horse. It's a young lady. Pick your horse.
Pick your course. Okay.
Something like that. But it's a nurse wrote this book, and it was about how she picked a certain career, and that wasn't the fit for her, so she changed. I'm reading
gotcha.
3 or 4 books actually.
Gotcha.
So I got 3 or 4 books, and then I'm working on learning this new AI world.
Yeah, I know that's right. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned in business?
Not to trust everybody. Can't do that. And just because it looks like they're doing good, make sure you know. And when they overpromise, just be cautious and always just use your head. Learn from your last mistakes. Don't hold yourself. Like I was really down on myself and wanted to quit. Don't quit. Just change your momentum. Change what you didn't do the last time and start doing it, and be consistent. Consistency is the key.
I love it. Now, who is the leader, living or dead, that you would like to have a conversation with?
Wow. Let's see. So it would have to be a whole table of people, right? So besides Jesus at the head, and Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, there's the first Black female, and I'm sorry, her name gets away from me, who created a bank. So remember the millionaires who created a bank. And
I know. Anyway,
I really want to talk to a lot of them, like the Madam C.J. Walkers, all of them who stepped out, and they didn't let their circumstances hold them to where they were because they were a woman, and they weren't skinny. They looked like us, but they were smart and they were determined. And so there are a number of people.
I love it. What's your favorite movie?
I'm a Marvel person.
I'm not going to know this one. Go ahead.
So, I love the Avengers. So really, I'm a Star Wars. If you come to my house, there's Star Wars everywhere. I have a whole area. So Star Wars, every single one of them is my favorite. Of course, I love the color purple, the original, but I do like the new one because Fantasia can sing. So, and let's not forget Taraji. She can sing too. She's very talented. She's another person I would like to talk to.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I would like to talk to Taraji. Have you ever read her book?
Not yet.
I would read her book. Her book is really interesting. It is a really good book. How do you define success?
Success now it's not about materialistic things. It's about joy, peace, and love, and having your own time. There's nothing like having your own time and being with your family. If I could be at home, my grandkids, and do what I want when I want, to me, that's success. And being able to be there for my family. That's it. And finding love again one day.
I love it. I love it. Stop talking about being a nurse then, because apparently that ain't going well for you. Okay. It went okay for me, but apparently that's not going well for you. Now, where can people find you if they want to you for their psychiatric? So all you psychiatric facilities out there, she coming in, she gets straight now. So you need to seek her out, because I know most psychiatric facilities need India. So go ahead.
So I am on Instagram. It is _red_pearl_standard, and that's on IG. I do have a Facebook page called the Red Pearl Standard, and on my LinkedIn page, it's just Dr. India Caldwell-Cox, and I have the Red Pearl Standard there. And the Red Pearl actually came from my mom's name. Her name was Pearl. Her favorite color was red, and we lost her to be a year in September. And so, I was very blessed and fortunate that God chose me to be her daughter. So
that's so good. That's so good. So y'all go follow Dr. Cox. Also, y'all like, share, comment. Lord, just do what you do, people, because Dr. Caldwell-Cox is amazing at what she do. So you ladies and gentlemen, y'all have an amazing rest of your day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.